Please hide me. My father is coming. He's crazy. He's on drugs.
I got you. Stay close. Where is your mother?
I don't know.
Tell me now. What about your father? Where is he?
I don't know. He left.
Please, hide me. My father is coming. He's crazy. He's on drugs. The desperate whisper cut through the evening silence of the Lone Star Iron garage like a gunshot. Travis Iron McCoy looked up from his Harley to see a teenage girl standing in the doorway. Exhausted, shaking, clutching a faded pink backpack. It was nearly 8 p.m. The garage sat miles from anywhere, and somehow this girl had found her way here. Travis slowly stood, 6 feet 4 inches, covered in Hell's Angels patches and scars. But he didn't move toward her. Not yet. What's your name? Hope. Hope Walter. Her voice trembled, but she didn't run. My father's coming, and I can't go back. Where's your mother? Asked Luis, appearing from the back office. Hope's eyes filled with tears. My mama's gone. Overdose, they said. But I know what he did. What he was putting in her drinks. The bikers exchanged knowing looks. They'd seen enough of the meth trade to understand. How'd you find us? Travis knelt to her level. I heard dealers talking. They said you follow a code. That you protect people who can't protect themselves. She looked at him directly. Is that true? Hope unzipped her backpack with shaking hands. A notebook filled with documented abuse. Then a Ziploc bag of white powder. Then a phone. This killed my mama. And this has all his messages. About his business. About how she knew too much. That's when they heard it. A truck engine in the distance. Hope's face went white. He found me. Travis stood to his full height. Behind him, 3 more bikers materialized. You're safe here, he said quietly. I promise. Outside, gravel crunched under heavy tires. Inside, 4 broken men formed a wall. Before we dive into this incredible story, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is there right now. I love seeing how far this channel reaches. And if you enjoy powerful emotional stories with real-life lessons, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. The sun was setting over the Texas wasteland when Hope Walter first slipped through the side door of the Lone Star Iron garage. Travis Iron McCoy didn't hear her at first. He was too focused on rebuilding the carburetor of a 1987 Harley Softail, his hands black with grease, his mind somewhere between the present and memories he couldn't outrun. When he finally looked up, she was just standing there. 15 years old, maybe 90 pounds soaking wet, with eyes that had seen things no kid should ever see. She didn't say anything. Just stood in the doorway like a ghost, clutching that pink backpack like it was the only thing tethering her to earth. Most men Travis's size would have scared her just by existing. 6'4", 240, covered in prison ink and Hell's Angels patches that told a story of violence and brotherhood. But Travis had learned something in his 44 years. The truly broken recognize each other on sight. You lost? He asked, setting down his wrench slowly, deliberately. No sudden movements. No, sir, Hope whispered. I'm exactly where I need to be. That's when she told him. Not all at once. It came out in fragments, like shattered glass cutting its way up through her throat. Her mother, dead 4 months from an accidental overdose that wasn't accidental at all. Her father, a meth distributor for the cartels who'd descended from functional addict to paranoid monster. The shelters she'd stayed in. The bus stations where she'd slept sitting up. The abandoned buildings where she'd learned to sleep with one eye open. Travis saw something flicker in her eyes. Something he'd seen before, years ago, in his own daughter's face the last time he'd seen her alive. That look of someone drowning in plain sight while the world walked past. He didn't realize his hands had clenched into fists until Luis appeared from the back office. took one look at the situation, and started lowering the bay doors. No questions asked. That was the thing about brotherhood. You didn't need words. Ethan drifted in from the break room. Coffee forgotten. Big Hank materialized from the shadows like he always did, silent as death, taking position by the front entrance. That's when they heard it. The truck engine in the distance growing louder. Hope's face went white. He found me. Travis made a decision in that split second. The kind of decision that changes everything. You're safe here, he said quietly. I promise you that. Hope's hands trembled as she opened her backpack. A photo of a smiling woman who looked just like her. A diary with pages and pages of dates, times, injuries documented in desperate detail. Empty pill bottles with someone else's name on them. This is all I have left of her, Hope whispered, tears streaming down her face. This is all the proof that she existed. That what happened to her mattered. Outside, gravel crunched under heavy tires. Inside, for broken men formed a wall between a terrified girl and the monsters coming for her. The pounding on the bay door started 30 seconds later. Fists against metal, rage amplified by methamphetamine and desperation. Hope, get your ass out here right now. Darrell Walters' voice was a chemical scream, all paranoia and violence. Travis had heard that sound before. Men whose brains had been rewired by too many hits off the pipe, whose humanity had been burned away one dose at a time. Stay behind that cabinet, Travis told Hope. Then he walked toward the door like he had all the time in the world. Big Hank was already there, a silent mountain blocking the entrance. Travis put a hand on his shoulder. I got this, and stepped outside alone into the Texas twilight. 3 men stood in the gravel parking lot. Darrell Walter in the middle, 46 years old but looking 60, skin-picking scars on his face and hands that wouldn't stop twitching. On either side of him, 2 dealers Travis recognized from the local meth trade. Cold-eyed predators in their 30s who needed Darrell functional enough to keep running their distribution routes. That's my daughter in there, Darrell snarled, pointing a shaking finger at Travis. You got no right keeping her from me. Travis crossed his arms, making himself even bigger. She's scared of you. That gives me every right. You don't know what you're dealing with, one of the dealers said, his hand moving toward his waistband where the outline of a pistol was clearly visible. Walk away, old man. The rumble of motorcycle engines answered him. Ethan and Luis appeared from around the building on their Harleys, flanking the 3 men. Then 2 more club members materialized from the shadows. Rook had made calls. 6 Hell's Angels in full formation now. The dealers pulled their weapons. The bikers didn't flinch. Mexican standoff. 3 guns against 6 men who'd survived worse. That's when the red and blue lights cut through the gathering darkness. Deputy Ray Collins's cruiser rolled into the lot, spotlight sweeping across everyone. Collins stepped out slowly, one hand near his service weapon, calculating odds. He knew every man standing in that parking lot. Knew their records, their reputations, their capacity for violence. Somebody want to tell me what's happening here? Collins asked, his voice carefully neutral. These bikers kidnapped my daughter. Darrell's voice cracked with manufactured grief. They're keeping my child from me. I got rights. He's lying. Hope's voice cut through the tension like a blade. Everyone turned. She stood in the garage doorway, small and fragile and absolutely fearless. He killed my mother, Hope said, her voice stronger now, each word a bullet. He made it look like an overdose, but I know what he did. And he's going to kill me too if you let him take me. The words hung in the air like smoke. Brutal truth spoken in front of witnesses. A deputy, bikers, dealers. No taking it back now. Collins looked at Darrell, whose tweaking had intensified, then at Hope, then at Travis. This is a mess, Collins said finally. But she's a minor and he's her legal guardian. She stays with me tonight, Travis said. It wasn't a request. Collins was quiet for a long moment, weighing law against justice. Hearing tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., family court, he said finally. Hope stays with Mr. McCoy until then. Daryl, you come near this garage before that hearing, I arrest you. We clear. Daryl's face twisted with rage, but the dealers were already pulling him toward the truck. Hope had bought herself 12 hours. The truck's taillights disappeared into the darkness, but the tension didn't leave with them. Hope stood in the garage doorway, arms wrapped around herself, watching the empty road like Daryl might materialize out of thin air. You can sleep in the clubhouse, Travis offered. We got a spare room. No. The word came out sharp, final. Too many walls. Too many doors he could come through. Travis understood. Confined spaces meant trapped. Trapped meant vulnerable. Garage it is, then. He dragged out an old sleeping bag, set it up in the corner near the tool cabinet. Hope sat on it but didn't lie down, just pulled her knees to her chest and stared at the bay door. Travis settled into a folding chair across the room, far enough away not to crowd her, close enough to be a wall between her and anything that came through that door. The hours crawled past. Hope's eyes would drift closed, then snap open, hypervigilant even in exhaustion. Around 3 a.m., she finally fell asleep. At 3:47, she started screaming. Travis's instinct was to rush over, but he'd learned better once before. Learned it too late, but learned it nonetheless. Trauma doesn't want to be touched. Trauma wants space and safety. Hope. His voice cut through her nightmare, calm and steady. You're safe. No one's getting past that door. I promise you that. Her screaming stopped. In the dim light, he could see her curled into a ball, shaking. Why are you helping me? She whispered into the darkness. You don't even know me. Travis was quiet for a long moment. Then, I had a daughter once. Lily. She was scared too. Depressed, hurting, and I was too busy playing outlaw to see it. His voice cracked. And I wasn't there when she needed me most. She's gone now. Has been for 3 years. The silence between them felt different now. Shared grief, shared failure, shared guilt. I'm not going to fail twice, Travis said. Something in Hope's rigid posture softened. Not trust, not yet. But the first crack in the armor. Morning came with the smell of coffee and breakfast tacos. Luis, Ethan, and Rook showed up with food, setting it on the workbench like an offering. Hope looked at it like it might be poisoned. You should eat something, kid, Ethan said. She shook her head. That's when Maria Hernandez walked in, Luis's wife, a woman who'd raised 3 kids and recognized trauma on sight. Baby, Maria said gently, kneeling beside Hope. When's the last time you ate? And I mean really ate, not just survived. Hope's composure crumbled. I've been stealing from gas stations, eating out of convenience store dumpsters. Her voice broke completely. I haven't showered in over a week. I can't even remember what it feels like to be clean. Maria's eyes filled with tears, but her voice stayed strong. Come with me, honey. Let's get you cleaned up. She led Hope to the clubhouse bathroom. Travis heard the water running for almost 30 minutes. When Hope finally emerged, hair wet and wearing borrowed clothes, Maria was waiting with a towel. But Hope had stopped in front of the mirror, staring at her own reflection like she was seeing a stranger. I didn't realize, she whispered. I didn't realize how far gone I was. Maria put an arm around her shoulders. You're not gone, baby, she said quietly. You're right here. And you're going to be okay. It was the first time Hope let herself believe it might be true. Patricia Simmons arrived at 10 a.m. in a state sedan with coffee stains on the passenger seat and the exhausted look of someone who'd seen too many broken children in too many broken places. She was 53, burned out, and had exactly zero patience for irregularities. "Mr. McCoy." She stepped out with a clipboard and a permanent frown. "I'm here about Hope Walter." Travis met her in the garage bay. Behind him, Hope sat on a workbench, Maria's arm protectively around her shoulders. Patricia spent 20 minutes inspecting everything. The garage, the clubhouse, Travis's record, which she pulled up on her tablet with increasing disapproval. Hell's Angels Texas charter. 2 prior convictions for assault. 18 months in Huntsville. No custody experience whatsoever. She interviewed Hope privately. Then the bikers. Then Hope again. Finally, she delivered her verdict. "This is completely inappropriate placement," Patricia said, her voice clinical. "Mr. McCoy, you're a member of a criminal motorcycle gang with a violent history. This child needs stability, structure, proper supervision. If you send me back to him, he'll kill me." Hope's voice cut through Patricia's speech like breaking glass. "You don't understand. He murdered my mother. I have proof. And if he gets his hands on me—" "There are proper facilities," Patricia interrupted, but her voice had softened slightly. "Group homes. Foster families. People trained to handle trauma. I've been in those." Hope stood up, her whole body shaking. 3 different group homes. 4 foster placements. You know what happened. The first group home, I got beat up for my shoes. The second one, they locked us in our rooms at night. The fosters. Her laugh was bitter. One wanted the state check. One wanted free babysitting for their actual kids. And one, her voice broke. One had a son who came into my room after everyone was asleep. The words hung in the air like poison. Patricia's clipboard lowered. "Hope." "The streets were safer," Hope whispered. "At least on the streets, I knew the monsters were coming." Deputy Collins, who'd been standing quietly by the door, stepped forward. "Ms. Simmons, you should know. Darrell Walter has 6 arrests for domestic violence. 3 for possession with intent. Mother's death is still under active investigation. And last night, he showed up here with armed associates threatening violence." Patricia looked at Travis, this scarred, massive biker who knelt for frightened girls. Then at Hope, whose terror was so real it was almost tangible. 72 hours, Patricia said finally. Emergency placement with Mr. McCoy. But Maria Hernandez must be present as female guardian. Hope attends school. I check in daily. And we have a formal hearing Wednesday morning where a judge makes the real decision. She paused. "This is highly irregular." "Irregular's better than dead," Travis said quietly. After Patricia left, Ethan pulled Travis aside in the garage. "You know this is crazy, right? We're bikers, not babysitters. We don't know the first thing about raising a teenager." Travis watched Hope through the window. She was sitting with Maria, actually eating a sandwich now. "She walked through our door," Travis said. "That means something." Hope, who'd been pretending not to listen, heard every word. For the first time in 4 months, she realized she wasn't a burden someone was stuck with. She was a responsibility someone chose. Day 2 started with Maria showing up at the clubhouse with her truck keys and a determined expression. "We're going shopping," she announced to Hope. "You need clothes that actually fit." Hope followed reluctantly, hands shoved in her pockets. At the Walmart, Maria loaded a cart. Jeans, t-shirts, a winter jacket, underwear, socks. Basic necessities that felt like luxuries. In the clothing aisle, Hope's survival instincts kicked in. While Maria was checking sizes, Hope slipped a pack of socks into her backpack. Then a shirt. Old habits, automatic as breathing. Hope. Maria's voice was gentle but firm. Put them back, honey. Hope froze, caught. Shame burned her face red. Baby, you don't have to steal anymore, Maria said, kneeling down. We're giving. You understand. This isn't charity you have to pay back. This is family taking care of family. Something broke inside Hope. She made it 3 steps toward the dressing room before the sobs came. Huge, gasping things she'd been holding back for months. Maria held her while she cried in a Walmart dressing room, and didn't ask her to stop until she was ready. Back at the clubhouse, Hope discovered the bikers had attempted to create a bedroom in the spare room. The results were chaotic. Big Hank had hung curtains, but they were crooked and mismatched. Ethan had assembled a bed frame backwards. Luis had bought sheets covered in cartoon characters meant for a 6-year-old. It was a disaster. It was perfect. Dinner was its own kind of chaos. Big Hank insisted on cooking. Burned the chicken, undercooked the rice, somehow set off the smoke detector twice. Ethan tried to salvage it with hot sauce. Luis ordered pizza as backup. Hope sat at the table, staring at the food, unable to make herself eat. Travis didn't push. Just sat across from her in comfortable silence, the way you sit with someone who needs space more than words. Finally, Hope spoke. My mom used to make pancakes on Sundays. Her voice was barely audible. Before everything went bad. Before the drugs. Before. She couldn't finish. Maria can make pancakes tomorrow, Travis said quietly. If you want. Hope nodded. It was the first time she'd agreed to something that meant staying, that meant tomorrow existed. That night, around 2 a.m., Luis found her in the garage, sitting on the concrete floor next to a Harley, knees pulled to her chest. He didn't lecture or tell her to go back to bed. Just settled down beside her, both of them staring at motorcycles in the dark. Can't sleep? He asked. Every time I close my eyes, Hope whispered. I see him standing over my mother. I see her on the bathroom floor. I see, her voice cracked. I can't make it stop. Luis was quiet for a long moment. Yeah, he said finally. I got ghosts too. My brother died in a drive-by when I was 16. For years, I'd wake up hearing the gunshots, seeing his face. Does it ever go away? No, Luis said honestly. But eventually it gets quieter. The ghosts don't leave, but they stop screaming. They just sit with you. And that's bearable. It was the first time someone had told Hope the truth, that trauma doesn't disappear, but survival is still possible. She didn't feel better exactly, but she felt less alone. Day 4, Hope was exploring the clubhouse while Maria cooked breakfast. In Travis's small office, really just a converted storage closet, she found the photo on his desk. A girl, maybe 13, with dark hair and eyes that looked too sad for someone so young. Maria. Hope called out. Who's this? Maria appeared in the doorway, saw what Hope was holding, and her expression softened with old grief. That's Lily, she said quietly. Travis's daughter. She died 3 years ago. The words hit Hope like a fist. How? That's Travis's story to tell, honey. Hope found him in the garage an hour later, alone, working on an engine with the kind of focus people use to avoid thinking. Tell me about Lily, Hope said. Not a request, a demand. Travis's hands stopped moving. For a long moment, he didn't look up. Then he set down his wrench and sat heavily on a work stool. She struggled with depression, he said finally. Started around age 12. Got worse every year. And I was on the road with the club more than I was home. Told myself I was providing, building something. His voice turned bitter. I was running, and Lily was drowning, and I didn't see it until it was too late. What happened? She took pills from the medicine cabinet. Went to sleep one afternoon while I was 3 states away at a rally. Travis's hands clenched into fists. Overdose. Same way your mama died. Hope felt like she'd been punched. Is that why you said yes to me? Because I remind you of her. No. Travis looked at her directly now, eyes raw with old pain. I said yes because I wasn't going to fail twice. Because maybe if I can keep you alive, Lily's death means something. Maybe it means I learned something from losing her. The honesty was brutal, but it was real. Hope understood loss. She understood guilt. She understood the desperate need for a second chance at doing the right thing. Can I see her grave? Hope asked quietly. 20 minutes later, Hope was on the back of Travis's Harley, arms wrapped around his waist as they rode through the Texas countryside. The wind in her hair felt like freedom. The first time in months she'd felt anything close to it. At the cemetery, Travis led her to a simple headstone. Lily McCoy, beloved daughter, gone too soon. Hope knelt, placed the wildflowers they'd stopped to pick. Hi, Lily, she whispered. I'm Hope. Your dad's helping me now. I'll try to make you proud. I'll try to be worth it. Travis knelt beside her, and his voice was rough when he spoke. Hope, listen to me. You don't have to be worth it. You don't have to earn protection or prove you deserve help. He waited until she looked at him. You already are worth it. Just by existing. Just by surviving. You understand. Hope's eyes filled with tears. For the first time she nodded, and meant it. Something shifted between them in that cemetery. Not father and daughter, not yet, but 2 broken people who recognized each other's pain and chose to carry it together. On the ride back, Hope held on a little tighter. And for the first time in 4 months, she let herself hope. The courtroom was packed. Patricia Simmons sat in the front row with her files. Deputy Collins in uniform, jaw tight. And Darrell Walter, clean-shaven, sober-looking, wearing a button-down shirt like he was auditioning for Father of the Year. His lawyer was good. Painted a picture of a grieving widower who'd struggled with addiction but was now in recovery. A drug treatment counselor testified that Darrell had attended 6 meetings. 6. Like that erased years of violence. Then the lawyer turned his attention to Travis and the bikers sitting in the back row. Your Honor, we're talking about placing a vulnerable 15-year-old girl with a convicted felon, a member of a criminal motorcycle gang. These men solve problems with violence. They have no experience with children, no understanding of appropriate boundaries. Travis's court-appointed lawyer, a young public defender juggling 40 cases, tried to counter, but she was outgunned and everyone knew it. Patricia Simmons took the stand. The placement is highly irregular, she admitted. But in 72 hours, Hope has shown more stability than in months of homelessness. She's eating, sleeping, beginning to trust again. Deputy Collins testified next, laying out Darrell's arrest record, his suspected ties to local drug distribution. But it was all circumstantial. Suspicion wasn't proof. The judge, a stern woman named Margaret Chen, looked increasingly skeptical of the Hells Angels as guardians. Then it was Hope's turn. In the hallway outside the courtroom, waiting to be called, Hope was shaking. That's when Darrell appeared. His lawyer had given him 2 minutes for the bathroom. Baby girl, he said, his voice dripping with false warmth. You think these bikers care about you? They're using you to look good, to play hero. Come home. I'll forget all this happened. We can be a family again. Hope's whole body trembled. The old fear was back. That voice, those eyes, the man who'd taught her that love and terror were the same thing. She's not going anywhere near you. Travis appeared like a wall of leather and fury, stepping between them. I'm her father, Daryl snarled, the mask slipping. I got rights. You lost those rights, Travis said quietly, when you raised your hand to her mother. A bailiff separated them before it escalated. Inside the courtroom, Hope took the stand. Her hands shook, but her voice was clear. Why do you want to stay with Mr. McCoy? The prosecutor asked. Hope looked directly at the judge. Because for the first time in my life, I'm not afraid to fall asleep. She described it all. The years of watching her father hurt her mother. The night her mother died. The months on the streets, stealing food, sleeping in abandoned buildings, trusting no one. Daryl's lawyer tried to discredit her. Isn't it true you've run away before? That you've lied to authorities, to foster families? How do we know you're telling the truth now? Hope's voice didn't waver. I ran away to survive. And I stopped lying when I found people who believed me. Judge Chen leaned forward. Hope, what do you want? Hope took a breath. I want to feel safe. I want to go to school. I want to remember what it's like to be a kid instead of just trying to stay alive. She looked at Travis. And Travis, Mr. McCoy, he's the first person who's let me do that. Who's let me be 15 instead of forcing me to be 40. The courtroom went silent. Hope had told her truth. Now they'd see if the system could hear it. Judge Chen took 20 minutes to deliberate. 20 minutes that felt like 20 hours. Hope sat in the front row, Maria's hand gripping hers so tight it hurt. Travis sat stone still beside them, staring straight ahead, jaw clenched. Behind them, the bikers waited in silence. Men who'd faced down armed dealers without flinching, now terrified of what one woman in a black robe might decide. The bailiff finally called them back in. Judge Chen returned to the bench, her face unreadable. This court recognizes, she began, that traditional placements have failed Hope Walter repeatedly. Group homes, foster care. The very systems designed to protect her have instead put her in harm's way. Hope's heart hammered against her ribs. Mr. McCoy, your record is concerning. Your lifestyle is unconventional, to say the least. Judge Chen's eyes moved to Travis. But the evidence before this court shows that Hope is safer, healthier, and more stable in your care than she's been in years. Travis's hand found Hope's shoulder. Therefore, I'm granting temporary guardianship to Travis McCoy for 6 months, with the following conditions. Hope must attend school regularly. She must participate in trauma counseling. Patricia Simmons will conduct weekly check-ins. And Maria Hernandez must remain involved as co-guardian and female presence in the home. Hope couldn't breathe. Mr. Walter, Judge Chen's voice turned to ice. You will have 0 contact with Hope. No calls, no letters, no visits. If you complete court-ordered rehabilitation, and I mean complete, not just attend a few meetings, we can discuss supervised visitation in 6 months. Until then, you are not to go within 500 feet of this child. The gavel came down. The courtroom erupted. The bikers in the back row cheered like their team had won the Super Bowl. Daryl stormed out, his lawyer chasing after him. Patricia Simmons was actually smiling. Hope started crying. Not the silent tears she'd cried on the streets, but huge, gasping sobs of pure relief. Maria pulled her into a hug while she shook. Travis knelt down to her level, the same way he had that first night when she'd slipped through his garage door, terrified and alone. You're home now, kid, he said, his voice rough with emotion. For real this time. Deputy Collins approached, extending his hand to Travis. Don't make me regret vouching for you. Travis shook it firmly. I won't. I promise you that. That night, the clubhouse was packed. Someone brought a cake. Luis grilled burgers. Ethan hung a hand-painted banner that said, "Welcome Home Hope," in crooked letters. The celebration was loud, chaotic, and perfect. Around 10 p.m., things had quieted down. Hope found Travis on the back porch, staring out at the Texas night. "Travis." Her voice was small. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything, kid." Can I call you Dad?" Travis turned to look at her, and his eyes were wet. "I'd be honored," he said, his voice breaking. Hope walked over and hugged him, really hugged him for the first time. And Travis Iron McCoy, Hell's Angels enforcer, ex-convict, and the scariest-looking man in TH 6 months later, Hope Walter was a different person. Not healed. Trauma doesn't work that way, but surviving. Thriving even. She was enrolled at Odessa High, making friends, attending twice-weekly counseling sessions with a therapist who actually listened. Her grades were climbing. Teachers reported she was bright, engaged, asking questions about college. She still slept with that faded pink backpack by her bed. Some scars don't fade. But when Travis formally adopted her, standing in the same courtroom where Judge Chen had given them a chance, Hope signed the papers with a smile that reached her eyes. The Hells Angels threw a party that lasted 2 days. Hope's case caught media attention. A local news story became a state story. Texas legislators took notice. Within a year, they proposed Hope's Law, legislation allowing courts to prioritize documented child safety over parental rights in cases involving addiction and abuse. The Lone Star Iron Garage became something else entirely. An unofficial safe house. For more teenagers showed up in those first 6 months. Runaways, abuse survivors, kids the system had failed. The Hells Angels developed an informal network, working with Deputy Collins to identify at-risk kids before crisis hit. Maria started a support group for trauma survivors. Every Thursday night, the clubhouse filled with kids learning they weren't alone. Hope, now 16, mentored the new arrivals. When a terrified 14-year-old named Marcus showed up at 3 a.m., Hope was the one who sat with him. "I know you don't trust anyone," she told him quietly. "I didn't either. But look around. Sometimes family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up when you need them." Travis carried 2 photos on his desk now. Lily and Hope. Both his daughters. "I couldn't save Lily," he told Ethan one night. "But maybe helping Hope, helping all of them, is how I honor her. Maybe that's what her death was supposed to teach me." 2 years after that first night, Hope graduated high school. Valedictorian. Full scholarship to UT Austin for social work. The entire Hells Angels Texas charter showed up in full colors, taking up 3 rows. Travis sat in front, wearing the only suit he owned. Hope took the podium, looked out at the crowd, and spoke. "2 years ago, I was homeless, hopeless, and certain I would die on the streets," she said. "Then I walked into a garage and met the scariest-looking man I'd ever seen." She looked directly at Travis. And he knelt down. That moment changed everything. Her voice strengthened. Family isn't about blood. It's about who fights for you when the world says you're not worth fighting for. It's about who sees you drowning and jumps in anyway. Travis was crying openly now, tears streaming down his scarred face. Hope walked off that stage with her diploma in one hand and her pink backpack over her shoulder, a reminder of where she'd been and proof of how far she'd come. Hope Walter is now 18, studying social work at the University of Texas, and volunteers with youth outreach programs across the state. Travis McCoy continues to mentor at-risk teens through the Hells Angels Texas charter. 17 kids and counting. Darrell Walter is serving a 15-year sentence for drug trafficking and manslaughter. And the Lone Star Iron Garage? It's still there, sitting on that dusty stretch of Texas highway. Doors always open. Lights always on. Because sometimes the most broken people are exactly who broken kids need to find. And sometimes saving someone else is how you save yourself.
And that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it or learned something new, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps support the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Drop your thoughts or questions in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.